The call came while my coffee was still too hot to drink. Unknown number, calm Wednesday. Nothing dramatic until I answered. Is this Maya Ellis? Yes. This is Liberty Federal Mortgage. We're contacting you about your overdue balance of $523,000. The world tilted. There's a mistake. I don't own a house. A pause. Keys clacked. Ma'am, the primary borrower is you. Full name, DOB, SSN. Loan originated 3 years ago. 3 years ago. The exact season my younger sister, Brooke, spent Sunday dinners sliding Pinterest mansions across the table while my parents murmured, "She deserves a fresh start." I'd laughed then tired because I was the responsible one, the safety net, the quiet yes. "I need the documents," I said, voice steady because I've learned steady scares people who expect you to break. They emailed the PDF. I opened it at my kitchen table, the hum of my ancient fridge suddenly roaring like a jet. Page after page, my name, my details, my signature, except not mine. Close enough to trick a stranger, wrong enough to slice me open. The M was too obedient. The Y loop never hooks like that when I sign anything that matters. I scrolled and scrolled, breath snagging on every initialed margin, every tidy lie. My phone buzzed again. A text from Mom, chirpy as a wind-up toy. Family dinner Sunday at 6. Don't be late, sweetheart. Sweetheart, the word curdled. I didn't respond. I printed the packet until the printer groaned, spread the pages like autopsy photos, and began a quiet inventory of everything I've ever paid for. Dad's physical therapy, the temporary move-in box for Brooke that became 3 months, the deposit I fronted after Mom forgot her wallet. A history of usefulness masquerading as love. At midnight, I called the bank back and asked for the original application scan. It arrived with a soft email ding. There, in grainy grayscale, sat a driver's license that was mine but not the one in my wallet now. The issue date was off by 8 weeks. 8 weeks after Brooke borrowed my purse to grab gum. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I poured my coffee cold and started a list. Pull full credit report. Freeze all bureaus. Request loan file audit plus notary log. Record Sunday dinner. Because here's the truth. Guilt kept me useful. Paperwork makes me dangerous. I slept 2 hours, dreamless. By morning, a thin, hateful calm had settled in my bones. I filed fraud alerts. I ordered copies of every statement tied to my name. I practiced one sentence in the bathroom mirror until it sounded like a gavel. Who signed my future without asking? Sunday came like a dare. The house smelled exactly the same, pot roast and lemon cleaner and the dust of old stories. Dad watched the game with the volume too high. Mom fussed over placemats. Brooke lounged on the couch, nails perfect, phone glowing, a key fob the size of a pearl hanging off her finger. We ate, we chatted. They pretended my life wasn't on fire. When the plates were stacked and the dishwasher hissed, I set my folder on the table and finally looked up. "I have one question," I said, voice level, palms flat. "Who put a $523,000 mortgage in my name?" 3 faces, 3 flinches, 1 silence that told me everything. "Family helps family," Mom started. "Great," I said, sliding out the forged signature and the notary stamp. "Then help me understand who forged me." No one answered. Brooke's eyes flicked to Dad. Dad swallowed. The clock ticked like a countdown. And I smiled small, precise because I had already started the avalanche. Mom recovered first, switching to that soft, weaponized voice she uses on waiters. "Maya, don't be dramatic. It's just paperwork. Brooke couldn't qualify on her own. We co-signed in spirit. You're the responsible one. We knew you'd keep up." "In spirit?" I slid a page forward. The notary log shows an in-person signing. Where was that spirit at Valley Title? Tuesday, 3:14 p.m. 3 years ago. Brooke's jaw twitched. "I brought your ID because you were busy. You said I could grab your purse that week." "I said gum," I replied. "Not my future." Dad cleared his throat, eyes fixed on the TV even though it was muted. "Family pulls together. Your sister had a chance at a better school district. Kids need stability." "There are kids?" I asked, stunned. Brooke's chin lifted. "Puppies," she said quickly. "Same thing." I stared, and for a breath I saw it all at once, the lunches I bought, the birthday trips I funded, the way they'd learned my yes like a reflex. A lifetime of small thefts made big. Mom leaned in. "Listen, the loan pays itself. It's temporary. You're doing well. You don't even want a house." "Because I didn't want this house," I said, tapping the rate line. "Adjustable. Predatory. And temporary ended last year when the teaser expired. Her smile cracked. The bank called you because your tone with them was probably off. Let me handle it. I already handled it, I said, and set my phone in the center of the table, screen glowing, recording saved. Also, per state law, fraud is a police matter. Dad finally looked at me. You'd call cops on your own blood? I filed a report this morning, I answered. On my own name. Silence fell hard and thick. Then Brooke scoffed. Wow. Overreact much? You act like you're the victim. Identity theft usually makes you the victim, I said. But let's stick to facts. Who signed my name? No one moved. Mom's hands fluttered, then went still. Fine, she said, brittle. Your father signed, but we all agreed it was best. Dad flinched. Elaine. You forged me, I said quietly. He swallowed. Your mother said it was our only shot. The broker said it was normal. Criminals often say that, I replied. Brooke slapped the table. Enough. Just pay like a decent daughter. You owe us. We raised you. There it was, the sentence they'd built their lives on. I almost laughed from the clarity of it. I owe truth, I said. And consequences. I stood, gathered the folder, and left their dishes sitting in a neat, accusatory stack. Outside, the air hit cold and honest. In my car, I opened the email Mr. Warner had sent during dinner. Notary affidavit obtained. Signature exam scheduled. Bank compliance officer willing to meet. Attached was a scan I hadn't seen yet, the broker's intake sheet. Under primary borrower occupation, someone had written, teacher predictable income, reliable. Under risk notes, a tidy line, parents assert duty child will pay for sister, highlighted in yellow. Duty. I drove straight to the bank, the lobby half empty and humming with fluorescent indifference. A woman in a navy blazer met me at the glass office. Miss Ellis, I'm Dana, compliance. She slid a folder across the desk. Inside were stills from branch cameras, a woman with my hair color, oversized sunglasses, my mother's scarf around her neck. Behind her, my father, head down. The date stamp matched the notary log. Dana's voice was careful. We'll be providing this to the investigator and your counsel. The notary has admitted he never verified identity. Heat rose, not like rage, like sunrise. What happens next? I asked. Internal review, potential loan rescission, possible criminal referral for fraud. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Do not do this. You'll destroy us. Meet tonight. No lawyers. Then another, from an unknown number. Broker here. We can make this go away if you sign a release. A PDF icon bloomed on my screen. I looked up at Dana. If I sign a release, you assume the debt, she said, and admit their story. I exhaled, steady. Then I guess we let the story change. And as I left the bank, headlights swept across the lot and a familiar SUV eased in beside me. Brooke stepped out, sunglasses at dusk, lips pressed thin. You have 1 hour to fix this, she said, voice shaking, or I'll make a call you can't undo. I clicked the recorder on my phone. To who? She smiled sharp. Wrong. The man who signed your name. For a second, I just stared at her, at the trembling hands clutching that designer purse she probably bought with the first payout from my loan. Her threat didn't sound like power. It sounded like panic. Who, Brooke? I asked, calm, almost curious. Who signed my name if it wasn't you? She hesitated, her jaw clenched, eyes darting toward the SUV behind her where I could just barely see someone's silhouette through the windshield, broad shoulders, cigarette glowing faintly in the dark. You think you can play detective? She hissed. You don't understand how deep this goes. Just drop it, Maya. You've got your little apartment, your stable job, your boring life. Let this go before you make things worse. Worse for who? I asked softly. She didn't answer. Instead, she backed away, pulling her car door open, her voice low. You'll regret this. Her taillights cut through the parking lot like two furious eyes, vanishing into the night. I stood there for a long moment, the chill of October sinking into my skin. Worse for who? The question echoed like a pulse. By the time I got home, I already knew the answer. My laptop was open before my coat even hit the chair. I dug deeper: bank filings, property transfers, title histories. That's when I found it. A secondary document, recorded 6 weeks after the original mortgage. A cash-out refinance. For another $80,000. My signature again perfect, rehearsed, but this time, a co-signer name stood beside mine. Nathan Cole. The broker. The same man who'd helped my parents years ago when they refinanced their own home. the same one who always called my mom darlin' at barbecues. My chest tightened. This wasn't just a family betrayal, it was business. Dirty business. The next morning I met with Mr. Warner again. I slid the new papers across the table. I think we're past family drama. He skimmed, eyes narrowing. You're right. This is organized mortgage fraud, multiple parties. We'll bring in federal banking investigators. The words hit like a drumbeat in my head. Federal investigators. For the first time in weeks, I felt the weight shift off me just a little. But peace never comes easy. That night, the knocking started. 3 slow raps on my apartment door around midnight. I froze. Another knock, louder this time. I checked the peephole, empty. Only the dim glow of the hallway light. Still, something told me I wasn't alone. I stayed still, not breathing, until the footsteps finally retreated. When I opened the door minutes later, a single manila envelope lay on the floor. No return address. Inside, a photo of me at the bank earlier that day, printed, grainy, but clear. My name scrawled on the back in blue ink. Drop it. Family means forgiveness. My blood ran cold. The next morning, I gave the envelope straight to Mr. Warner. He didn't even blink. They're scared, he said. That's good. Fear makes people sloppy. He was right. 2 days later, a call came from the bank's fraud department. Miss Ellis, you were correct. The loan was processed under falsified ID and collusion with a registered broker. The mortgage will be voided pending investigation. You're cleared from liability. I should have felt relief, but instead, I felt something sharper, unfinished. That night, I drove to my parents' neighborhood. The lights in their house were on, warm and golden like nothing had changed. Brooke's car was parked outside. I parked down the street, engine idling, my heartbeat sinking with the hum. I wasn't there to scream. I wasn't there to fight. I was there to end it. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Inside my bag I had the certified letter Mr. Warner had prepared, a formal notice of fraudulent signature and criminal referral. It was cold, clinical, and devastating, the kind of letter that destroys illusions. I walked up their porch steps and knocked twice. Mom opened the door, her face pale and brittle. Maya, you can't just show up. I handed her the envelope. I didn't. The law did. Behind her, Brooke appeared, eyes wide, voice trembling. You can't do this to us. I smiled, tired, steady. You already did it to me. Then I turned, walked down the porch, and didn't look back. As I reached my car, I heard the door slam behind me, and then faintly the sound of something breaking. A dish? A lie? Maybe both. The next morning, my inbox pinged. A new message from Mr. Warner. Subject: Update, formal charges filed. Body: Authorities have accepted the case. All signatures confirmed fraudulent. Your record will be cleared completely. I stared at the screen, the cursor blinking like a heartbeat. After years of being the quiet one, I'd finally spoken the only language my family understood: documentation. But the story wasn't finished yet because the truth had a way of echoing. 2 weeks passed. Silence, that strange, heavy kind, that feels both like punishment and freedom, filled every inch of my apartment. No calls. No texts. No apologies. Just quiet. Until one Friday evening, a letter slid under my door. Cream envelope, familiar handwriting, my mother's. I hesitated before picking it up, half expecting another threat. But when I opened it, the first line made me stop breathing. We lost the house. The next lines blurred together: Jessica's, Brooke's, mortgage collapsed, Dad's name flagged in the investigation, accounts frozen, police question Nathan Cole, we don't know what to do. And at the bottom, in smaller, trembling handwriting: You've destroyed us. I hope you're proud. Proud? The word hit like a spark in a cold room. I wasn't proud. I wasn't even happy. Just free. I folded the letter carefully and placed it inside my filing drawer, labeled Evidence. Then I made myself tea, sat by the window, and watched the city lights shimmer every window, a story I'd never have to clean up again. But peace doesn't stay quiet forever. 3 nights later, there was another knock. Softer this time. I opened the door and there they were. My parents. Standing in the hallway like ghosts. They looked older, smaller, their confidence, that sharp, polished superiority, gone. My father's shoulders slumped. My mother's lipstick smeared, her eyes red. Maya, she whispered. Please, just hear us out. Behind them, Brooke hovered by the elevator, arms crossed, pretending not to care but too scared to leave. 5 minutes, I said, stepping aside. They entered, moving like trespassers in someone else's life. Mom spoke first. They're taking everything. The house, the cars. Brooke's name is all over the investigation. They said she could face charges. I said nothing. Dad rubbed his temples. We just need you to withdraw the complaint. You've made your point. You won. I didn't win, I said. I survived what you did. Brooke stepped forward then, tears welling up but her voice still sharp. You're really going to let your own family fall apart? Over paperwork? I turned toward her slowly. You forged my name. Stole $500,000. That's not paperwork, Brooke. That's prison. Her voice cracked. I was desperate. Mom said you'd understand. I looked at Mom. And you believed she'd pay for your crime. Mom's lower lip trembled. You're our daughter. I was your safety net, I corrected. And you cut the rope yourself. The silence that followed was suffocating. The air itself seemed to tighten. Then Dad exhaled, a defeated sound. We messed up, he said quietly. But please, the police said, if you don't press further, we could work something out. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because after everything, he still didn't understand. Dad, this isn't about pressing charges. The state's already handling it. You don't get to bargain with accountability. Mom's face hardened, the softness gone. So that's it then? You'll just let us be ruined? I met her eyes. You ruined yourselves. She stared at me, her expression slipping from anger to disbelief, then to something colder, realization that I was no longer the daughter she could guilt, silence, or rewrite. I walked to the door and opened it. We're done here. Brooke's voice broke as she whispered, You'll regret this, Maya. I shook my head. I already regretted loving people who thought my worth was alone. They hesitated, as if waiting for me to crack for the familiar apology, the desperate, I didn't mean it. But this time, I didn't flinch. When the door closed, I leaned against it and exhaled long, trembling, alive. Later that night, I got a message from Mr. Warner. The state has frozen their assets pending full recovery. Case proceeding smoothly. You're fully cleared. For the first time in my life, I wasn't holding the consequences for someone else. The next morning, I drove past my parents' house one last time. It was empty. Foreclosure notice on the door. The curtains gone. The same porch where I'd stood weeks ago now, just wood and dust. I parked, stepped out, and placed a single folded note under the peeling welcome mat. It read, Family doesn't mean ownership. I forgive you, but I'll never be yours again. As I walked back to my car, the wind picked up, scattering old leaves across the lawn, pieces of a life I'd finally stopped trying to glue back together. That day, I didn't look back. Because revenge wasn't burning their house down. It was walking away while they watched the smoke of their own fire. Months passed. Winter melted into spring, and for the first time in years, my days felt quiet in the right way. Not like silence after chaos, but peace after closure. I started running again in the mornings, taking the same route I used to drive to work when everything felt too heavy to carry. The air felt different now, lighter. My apartment, once a temporary escape, had become home. A small shelf by the window filled with new things, clay mugs I made at a pottery class, framed photos of friends, and a single white envelope labeled Case Closed. The letter inside confirmed it all. Mortgage nullified, fraud proven, borrower cleared. Official words. Simple. But to me, it was more than paperwork, it was freedom written in ink. Sometimes I still got messages, distant relatives asking what happened, old friends forwarding screenshots of my mom's cryptic Facebook posts about forgiveness and family betrayal. I didn't reply. Because forgiveness doesn't always require conversation sometimes, it's just distance. One afternoon, I stopped by the coffee shop near my office, the same one where I used to drown in anxiety before calling lawyers and investigators. The barista, a young guy with paint-stained hands, smiled. Haven't seen you in a while. You look lighter. I am, I said simply. He smiled back, not needing details. Outside, the city hummed, buses, chatter, life. It used to sound like pressure, now it sounded like possibility. Later that evening, I opened my laptop and started writing. Not an email, not a complaint, a story. About a woman who learned that love built on guilt isn't love at all. About how sometimes the quietest revenge is rebuilding slower, stronger, and far away from the people who once held the hammer. It wasn't for publication, it was for me, to remember. Halfway through typing, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it for a few seconds before answering. Maya? The voice was hoarse, hesitant. My father. I didn't speak. He sighed. Your mother's not well. We're moving in with Brooke for now. I just wanted you to know. A pause. Then, softer, I never meant for it to go that far. The same words he'd said 100 times when I was little after forgotten birthdays, broken promises, his voice always caught between guilt and cowardice. I hope you get help, I said finally. All of you. Maya. I hung up. Then I blocked the number. No anger, no relief, just peace. Weeks later, I found myself standing in front of a small art gallery downtown, a pottery exhibit, the kind I used to scroll past online, thinking I'd never have time for. Now, I did. A display by the door caught my eye, a cracked ceramic bowl, gold seams running through its fractures. A small tag beneath it read, Kintsugi, the art of repairing with gold. The break becomes part of the story. I smiled. Because maybe that's what I'd become, not unbroken, but something better. That night, I came home, lit a candle, and placed that old letter from my mother. You've destroyed us. I hope you're proud, into a small ceramic bowl. I watched as the flame turned it into ash, curling the words into nothing. When it was gone, I whispered, not proud, just free. Then I opened the window and let the smoke drift out into the night, soft, gold, and weightless. Because revenge wasn't about watching them fall. It was about finally standing tall, alone, unafraid, and whole.